So this video I'm trying to deal with, I had an email from a guy called John, good name, and he was having some trouble with the Robin Ford patches that I just put together, and saying that they're quite noisy patches for him. So the issue of noise when you're recording is always gonna be something to contend with, particularly if you're using single coils or patches with a bit of gain. I guess, so here's one patch that I've got. I'll just turn off the noise. Oh, that noise gate is off. So I've got a patch here with a bit of gain. I'm using the J-Rocket HRM, and then this is the level of noise that I've got if I take my hand off the guitar in my studio, because of where I'm sat. If I move over to the monitor, which is over there, hopefully it will introduce some more noise. You'll hear that you get some more noise. I'm going to switch over to a Strat, and that may even have more issues. So here with the Strat, if I'm right by my monitor, whoop. So with a Strat, if I'm right by my monitor, you hopefully heard there, the noise is more significant. However, that amount of noise I can deal with, and it's proximity hum. If you use the in-between positions, you'll find that you generally get rid of some of that hum. So that's something that I would do if I was playing like a sensitive part where I was conscious that that hum was creeping through. But it's not an inherently noisy patch. What I might do is use on the HX Stomp and the Helix, on the first input block, I guess it's called, it says input main left right. I sometimes will turn that gate on, and then if I'm not playing, that gain, that noise is not there. I'm just going to move over to the monitor. So even at my computer, that's no longer an issue. I'm going to put it onto a more gainy tone. So it's got quite an aggressive gate on it. If I turn off the gate, I'll turn off the gate and we'll see what that sounds like. So without the gate on a normal single coil position, that's what you'd be dealing with. With the in-between positions, you get rid of a lot of that hum. With a normal single coil, it's still there. If I go over to the computer, it becomes very noisy. when people ask why my setup sounds quiet for a single coil strap, that's a couple of the tricks that I might use. So the noise gate is one, and you want to set the threshold. The default is -48 decibels. You want to set it so that it's not choking out some of your notes like it was when I was playing earlier on. That's something to watch out for. Don't be too near your computer speakers or monitors, whatever you're using, because the same as if you're using a real amp, if you're really close to it, you get that proximity hum. Check that you're not into noisy power sources or near lights that are going to cause noise. Those are some of the things that I do. And then the other issue is, how are you connecting? So I've noticed that if you use your hold on, I'll just unplug some stuff. If you use your HX Stomp as the interface, sometimes that can be noisier than if you're using an external interface. Again, that will depend what you're powering into, what the laptop power source is like. So all of these factors can play a part in creating noise. I like to use a loaded for bear, sorry you can't really see it there, jack to XLR. I'll just unplug it for you. But John over at Loaded for Bear made me this custom cable. So on this one end I've got balanced TRS jacks, and then on the other end I've got XLRs. So I use jack to XLR into my interface. I use that with the Iridium as well. I try to avoid where possible using a noise gate, just because it does change the attack of a note. But those are some of my first kind of areas that I'd look at if you're finding things noisy with really any modeler or amp or anything. What is your proximity to the speaker? That's where you're going to be creating potentially most noise. Do you have a ground loop? So you might experience that if you've tried plugging between two different power sources. If you've got a plug in one corner of the room and a plug in the other, sometimes if you're connecting between the two you can create a ground loop, and then you get this buzz that just won't go away. That happens with full cable method quite a bit, so in that case that's a different source of hum, and one that I would try to get rid of. So for instance, there was a video where I used the Behringer, what's it called, the 2-channel hum destroyer, and I was able to get rid of that ground loop hum that was happening when I was using full cable method. Or if you're using 2 amps, because you've got 2 transformers, that can create issues. They're all problems to be overcome, but the main one that I find has created most noise is if you're close to a computer monitor and your speakers, and you can find you can negate some of that by angling sort of away from the speaker. If you set your tone going, and then, sorry, not your tone, but you set your guitar with the volume open, and as you would be playing, if you play in like and move around in a circle, you'll find there is a point where you get less noise than others. So if you have to be next to your speakers or your monitors, that's what I would try for that. Some of my thoughts on noise when recording, and a few people have said, you know, your videos, how are you getting like noiseless tones with a Strat pickup? So these are just Lola Dirty Blonde 50s, and on the black Strat they're Albury Frigid Haze. None of my pickups are noiseless, so it's just a case of trying to manage the noise that naturally does occur. Hopefully that's a bit helpful.